Hello, my friends. I have a shocking and terrifying series of selfie videos from a migrant, a refugee asylum claimant who's got a bunch of knives and says he's willing to use them. Absolutely terrifying stuff. I don't know. I just don't understand the West's general suicide by mass migration. I just don't get it. Maybe you do. But first, let me invite you to get a subscription to what we call Rebel News Plus. It's the video version of this podcast. You really need to see this guy. He's absolutely terrifying. His videos are terrifying. His threats are terrifying, but they're real. It's like it's out of a horror movie. So please get the video version of Rebel News Plus. Just go to that website, rebelnewsplus.com, and click subscribe. And not only will you get the great content, but you'll support Rebel News. Hey, one more thing.
Feel like Ottawa's got its boot on Alberta's neck? Well, it's time to push back. Join us for Rebel News Live, Saturday, June 14th at the Red Deer Curling Center. Spend the day with Ezra Levant, me, Sheila Gunn-Reid, and a powerhouse lineup of freedom fighters, political thinkers, and grassroots leaders. We're talking energy, free speech, and especially independence, and how the West can finally stop getting screwed. This isn't just a conference, it's a rallying cry. Tickets are going fast. Get yours now at donegettingscrewed.com. Stand up, speak out, be there.
You're listening to a Rebel News podcast.
Tonight, a refugee is finally arrested after threatening to kill children. It's May 30th, and this is the Ezra Levant Show.
Shame on you, you censorious thug.
I want to show you a series of videos. They're from Ireland, but they could be from the United Kingdom or from France or Germany or Sweden. And they could absolutely be from right here in Canada because they're part of the same phenomenon, mass immigration of fake refugees, military-aged men, no vetting, no cultural fit, often mentally ill, here under false pretenses, economically and culturally unable to fit in, let alone thrive, becoming homeless perhaps, expressing rage and even madness. I found this video terrifying, and I still do. And multiply this by what? 100? 1,000? 100,000? It starts off with this selfie-style video of a migrant from Romania to Ireland. His name apparently is Benjamin Peter. And here he talks about slicing up Irish children.
Motherfuckers, I still see Americans logged in. I see still commercials. My phone switched off, it switches on with a commercial in my face. Sluts! I will slice you and your children in the fucking streets. Every fucking Christian on this planet will be crucified.
What on earth is that? Is that even real? It's like he's possessed by a demon. Oh, yes, that's real. Did police do anything about it, though? Not that I can find in that first instance, but it took off like wildfire on social media. Some local Irishmen found where he was living, in the middle of a forest of sorts. He had built up a kind of camp in the woods. The men knew that the Irish police, called the Garda, wouldn't do anything about it. In fact, would probably arrest them. But they took it upon themselves to destroy his little camp. And as they went through it, they seized several knives. You can see the man himself briefly in the video. They gave him about 10 minutes to get his stuff and go before they destroyed his camp.
You have 10 minutes to get out of here. You have 10 minutes to get out of here. This is why all these camps need to be broke up all over the country and shut down. These are dangerous men here. Blades, knives, threatening members of the public. All sorts he has here. These camps have to be tempered. We can't have this stuff in our country. Men threatening our fucking women and kids like that. Who the fuck does this man think he is? To put all our women and children in danger. What's that? There's another big blade. Look at that. All these weapons this man is left up here with. There's another knife, look. Look at the weapons there this man has. 2 knives. What's that? A big huge blade, an axe. Look at this fucking setup. People want to start taking all the wooded areas around our communities and running these men. Break all these fucking camps up. Something be happening in our country. These men are let do what they want and threaten all our women and kids. But what be fucking happening around us? I don't know who the fuck they think they are. Take the whole thing down, the whole fucking lot. Over here now, yeah, well done. No more fucking camp for this cunt. Coming in here, the fucking freeloader. Threatening our women and kids. Now I hope the council are going to come in and get rid of all this fucking dirt. And don't leave it for us to clean it up like we had to do it the other fucking day. That's how it's done. Check all their areas because there's dangerous men like this all over the country. Point down the fucking parks, all the buses. Get up and do something about it. This isn't a fucking joke anymore. There you go. That's all the blades this man had up here. Look. Hatchets, knives, fucking. Look at that. There's his fucking pipe there. Look. Bottles of gas. Fucking everything the cunt had up here. That's the fucking end of that.
You know, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be vigilantes. But the police in Ireland are like the police here in Canada. They have become politicized, like the prosecutors and much of the rest of the establishment. It's obviously true in the United Kingdom and increasingly so in the US as well. The whole point of the social contract, the whole idea is that we agree to some norms as a society, and most of those norms are mild, like customs and manners and simply social graces, like how we treat each other throughout the day. But the more serious rules are given to the police to enforce, backed up with their monopoly on violence. But here is a foreign national, a true danger, and the police won't do anything, so local men had to step up. This isn't in a vacuum, by the way. Foreign nationals have stabbed children in Ireland before, and in a horrific instance in the United Kingdom last year too. Well, then came news this migrant had relocated himself near a school, and I kid you not, and the school went into a lockdown. And then finally, the police arrested him. Here's a story from Dublin Live. School put into lockdown as Gardaí arrest man over alleged online threats. They weren't alleged. You heard them. One man was arrested by Gardaí in, I don't know how you even say this word, Laos. I don't know my Gaelic, forgive me. As part of an ongoing investigation into alleged threats shared online. Why are you using the word alleged? The alleged King of England. Gardaí have arrested a man in Laos as part of an ongoing investigation into alleged threats shared online. Officers made the arrest in Abilex. Again, forgive me, I can't speak Gaelic. On Wednesday morning, following an ongoing probe into alleged threats that have been shared widely across social media. That's true. While the veracity of the threats cannot be confirmed, what do you mean the veracity of the threats? We heard him say it. It is understood that the alleged remarks were sinister in nature. Well, thanks for granting that. In a video circulating on social media, a man can be heard saying, "Irish, I'm coming on top of you now. I'm going to be slicing your babies, kids and you. Good for everybody. Get ready because you pissed me off." What's the alleged part of that threat? School Moor on the Ballyrone Road in Abbeyleix, forgive me my Gaelic, went into lockdown for several hours as a precaution on Wednesday morning before the male was apprehended by Gardaí and is now in custody. They literally waited for him to go next to his school before picking him up. Those men moved quickly to take away the knives, but you can buy a knife in 5 minutes in any place in Ireland. But look at this. I don't know the timing of this. This suggests that he might be out again. I'm trying to confirm it. Take a look.
Irish, I'm coming on top of you now. I'm gonna be slicing your babies, kids, and you before everybody. Get ready, man.
I think that may predate his arrest because I think he's actually still in custody awaiting a proper trial. But he's been doing this for years. He has been out on the streets recording threats of violence for years. Here is another video from him purporting to be from 2021, 4 years ago.
All charity shops in Ireland, especially in Dublin since I'm still here, if I walk in a shop of yours and I'm being questioned again and I'm being asked name and where I come from and what's in my ass and what's in my pocket because you wanna help me, I'm gonna fucking kill you with my own hand in that fucking shop myself. If you wonder how, with this, I'm just gonna cut your jugular in a fucking second. You won't even have time to gasp. When I come and ask for a shower, you let me in and you let me out. No questions asked. Not in the shower, not before shower, not after the shower. Because all you know to do is ask questions. Are you okay? Every 2 minutes. I'm fucking okay since you helped me. I'm so fucking okay since you helped me in Dublin, bitches. I'm so okay I wanna slice you all. Bitches. Again. Every single fucking charity shop. It's open 24/7 now. If it's not, I will fucking kill you and your families. Son of a bitches. Hypocrites, motherfuckers. Acting interesting. You're uneducated?
So I have a question for you. Why? Why is someone from Romania a refugee at all? Romania is in NATO. Romania is in the European Union. Romania doesn't have a war going on, doesn't have a civil war going on. It's pretty free. I've been there for a few days. It's definitely got that Eastern European post-Soviet vibe to it, but it's not an authoritarian regime. It's not a wasteland. It's not war-torn. So again, why did Ireland take him in? And why have they abided him being an unemployable menace, making terrifying threats against children for years? Why, even after these latest videos went viral, did police do nothing? Why did it have to fall to vigilantes? Why did police actually wait until he went near his school and the children were surely terrified? Why him and why 1,000 others like him? What is their standing? What is their right to come to Ireland or to the United Kingdom or to France or to Germany or to Sweden or to the Netherlands or to Belgium or to Austria or to the United States or to Canada? By what right? They're not employable. They're not adding to the countries they come to. They're a burden at best, a danger at worst. They're the source of terrorism and crime. They have brought fear with them. Their very first act to claim that they're refugees is a fraud. Oh, I saw this the other day. It's a new group, unthinkable until recently, the Women's Safety Initiative. Quote, "Our mission is to expose the dangers of uncontrolled immigration, put women and girls first, advocate for victims, and demand real solutions." I like the sounds of that. They'll probably be called racist or something. You know, when I was in Marseille, France, a couple of years ago, a lovely Mediterranean city, there are luxury cafes right near the waterfront. It really is beautiful. I've never been to Monaco or something like that, but this felt like I imagine Monaco might feel. Elite tourism is what I'm saying, but go 2 blocks further into the city and it changes. Those lovely patios, yeah, they're a few blocks in, but it's just men. You go a few blocks in, it's just men. Do you remember this video? Here we are in Marseille, one of the most fashionable cities in France. And to my right is a woman wearing a halter top, showing a lot of skin, very modern woman. And to my left is a patio, and the only women there are wearing head coverings. And over there is no women at all. How do these things fit together? I was talking to some Muslim men about their grievances, and one of them said people here disrespect the veil.
Il faut que la France arrête le racisme. Le racisme à la télé, c'est trop. Ils discriminent trop la race musulmane. Ah, la femme voilée, elle aussi, ça, laissez les gens vivre comme ils veulent. Voilà, c'est tout ce que j'ai à dire.
And all the other guys seem to agree with him. There were no women around to disagree. I'm looking at another patio. I don't see a single woman on it. I've been to Paris, and there's some bistro patios on the sidewalk that are a hot dating scene. I mean, forget about Tinder. Just go to Paris and sip coffee and have a croissant on a cafe. I mean, there's beautiful people, but that's not the purpose of patios in at least the Muslim parts of Marseille. I mean, here's another woman wearing fairly short shorts, but so it's not Sharia law or anything, but there is a clash of cultures, and it is a divide. That's life in so much of the Islamic world, and Marseille is half Islamic. Women stay at home, and if they go out, it's only very briefly, and they're covered head to toe, and they're usually in the company of a male guardian. But I've seen that with my own eyes in the West. I've seen it in Malmo, Sweden, in Marseille, as I've shown you, in France, even in the suburbs of Paris, in Luton in the United Kingdom. That's what those women in the UK are worried about. This refugee man, Benjamin Peter, is a Romanian man. I don't know what his religion is, but he clearly is unfit to be in any Western country, and frankly, unfit to be on the streets of Romania either, in my opinion. But I promise you, it's just the tip of the iceberg all across the mass immigration West. I have just rarely seen it as clearly as I have in these murder threat videos, and the complete lack of attention to it by authorities until he was at the school. You know, in recent days, the Irish government has been seized with their new top priority, changing the definition of the word genocide so they can accuse Israel of it. I'm not kidding. That's a story in itself. They, I guess, implicitly acknowledge Israel has not committed a genocide, but they want to move the goalposts and change the definition so that it is. But imagine making that your top political priority. It dawned on me why. I mean, Ireland has no connection to Israel or Gaza, no ethnic connection, no historical connection, no geographical connection. It dawned on me why. Here's my theory. There are barely 2,000 Jews in all of Ireland, a country of 5 million people. That is 0.04% of the population. So I think what they're doing is about demonizing some outside enemy. There's only 2,000 Jews in Ireland, so you don't have to worry about that. You can demonize Israel as an external enemy, like in George Orwell's 1984, to direct the hate at some outside force. Actually, in 1984, it was called Emmanuel Goldstein, a Jew. Because I think people sometimes need a visceral hate against an ethnic group, perhaps the Jews. And I think in Ireland, what the politicians are doing, this is my theory. Tell me what you think of this theory. I think the Irish politicians are taking the growing rage in Ireland against the mass immigration schemes, and they're trying to misdirect it. They're trying to push it somewhere else. They're so dedicated to mass immigration, they will do anything to change the subject rather than deal with the crisis of people like Benjamin Peter. But in the end, it's social media and citizen journalism that is showing Ireland and the world what mass immigration is like. Oh yeah, and don't think we don't have the same thing in Canada too. We just lack the men with broad chests willing to go into a camp like that and deal with it. That's one difference between the Irish and us Canadians. Their republic was born in a rebellion barely a century ago, and it's still in their blood, I think. We Canadians, we're passive, and so we're an easy mark for the Benjamin Peters of the world. Stay with us for more. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but Canada has been in a recession for years. Now, you might be surprised to hear it from me because you haven't heard it blaring in all the other media, but I'm referring to it on a per-person basis, a per capita basis. We are each getting poorer. A recession has declined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. So really 6 months in a row where you're getting poorer and poorer and poorer. That's called a recession on a national scale. That's been happening to Canadians on an individual basis. But to cover that up, to hide that decrease, they've just juiced immigration by so much, literally bringing in millions of foreign nationals just to keep the global number higher. But on a per-person basis, we are all poorer than we were. It's not just that. It's not just that the economy itself is shrinking. It's that the burden that taxpayers must carry is getting heavier. And I was shocked to see the headline today by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation in a news report by our friend Franco Terrazzano. Here's the headline: Bureaucracy balloons by 99,000 employees over 10 years. That's a city's worth of employees. If you're wondering why it's so hard to make ends meet, it's because you're carrying another 100,000 people on your back. Joining us now via Skype is our friend Franco Terrazzano. Franco, great to see you again.
Hey, Ezra, thanks for having me on.
Do you know the total number of federal civil servants? And by the way, why would I limit it to Fed? There's provincial government, there's municipal government, there's so many different people who are not helping to pull the wagon. They're in the wagon while the rest of us push it. Give us 99,000, that's huge.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, like there's now more than 357,000 federal government bureaucrats. And you're right, it's not just the federal level, right? You got the provincial government bureaucrats, the municipal government bureaucrats. It's really a story of the taxpayers versus the tax consumers, right? The makers versus the takers. But if you look at the federal level, I mean, the bureaucracy has absolutely ballooned over the last decade. There are now 99,000 more federal bureaucrats today than what there was in 2016. And Ezra, I don't remember hearing about some bureaucrat shortage in Ottawa all the way back 10 years ago. And it's not just the number of bureaucrats that are increasing. Taxpayers are also paying for a bigger bureaucracy, taking bigger paychecks, right? So the number of bureaucrats has gone up 38% in a decade, but the cost of the bureaucracy has gone up 73% since 2016.
You know, I didn't realize what a large percentage that was. So if you're saying it's increased by 99,000, and if it's 357,000 today, that means that 10 years ago, and you correct my math, maybe I'm doing this wrong, there was just over 250,000 10 years ago, 258,000. So that is such a huge increase. It's not like a 5% or a 10% increase. What's 99 over 258? That's got to be close to a 50% increase. We have not received 50% more in services or 50% better services. Like, what are they actually doing? How can you add 100,000 people and everything seems to be worse? The service, like every aspect of government, other than tax collection, that they're doing very well.
Well, yeah, you know, they're supposed to be public servants, but who is really serving who right now? You know what I mean? And look, there are 7 federal departments that more than doubled in 10 years. Okay, let me just list some of these numbers off here. Infrastructure Canada saw a 375% increase in its number of bureaucrats in less than a decade, right? 375% increase. Women and Gender Equality Canada, 334% increase. So there are 7 departments that have doubled or more than doubled in the number of bureaucrats over the last 10 years. And as I mentioned, Ezra, it's not just the number that is going up, right? It's also the pay, the bonuses, the perks. So the average compensation, when you look at salary, bonuses, pensions, other types of perks, the average compensation for a federal bureaucrat is now $125,000 a year.
Yeah. You know, I'm looking at your press release here, Bureaucracy balloons by 99,000 employees over 10 years, and you've got those bullet points. Infrastructure Canada, up 375%. And I'm just thinking, you know, a lot of infrastructure, when I think infrastructure, I think ports or highways or overpasses, stuff like that. A lot of those are funded by multiple levels of government. You have the city, the province, the feds sometimes. Really, when I think of federal infrastructure, they're not involved in everything. I'm trying to think, why would they need to nearly quadruple the number of bureaucrats at Infrastructure Canada? Like, I don't know what they're doing, but I mean, I live in Toronto, which is a dilapidated city falling apart. What infrastructure are they talking about? Are we getting 375% better infrastructure in this country because we got 375% more bureaucrats in infrastructure?
No, I mean, but that's the whole story across government, right? Where you're seeing the cost of government go up, you're seeing the size of government go up, but yet taxpayers are not getting better quality services. I mean, like, here's the other startling point here. So, okay, let me talk about the taxpayer-funded bonuses, because I know your listeners, your audience will know of the CBC bonuses, right, that they've been dishing out year after year after year. Well, all of that is also happening across the federal departments as well. So the federal bureaucrats have taken $1.5 billion in taxpayer-funded bonuses since 2015. Well, you might be asking, well, how are they doing? Well, the results are in, and the performance is poor. So look, these federal departments are failing to meet half of their own performance targets every single year. They can barely meet half of their own performance targets. And like, think about it, folks. Like, these aren't performance targets written by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. This is their own performance targets. It's like they wrote their own tests, and yet they can barely squeak past a D-.
Yeah. You know, these aren't just jobs that are immune from real life. I mean, if you had a private sector company that was failing as badly as the federal government is failing to provide its services, it would be punished by consumers. They would choose to go elsewhere. But that's the thing about a government. You can't go elsewhere. You can't say, I'm quitting Rogers and going to Shaw, or quitting Bell and going to Fido or whatever. You can't do that. The government has a monopoly. You can't run away from their crapitude. But not only are those 99,000 and now I guess more than a third of a million employees immune from the vicissitudes of this economy that punish the rest of us, but they have become a voting bloc. You know, it is now a major, I mean, if you take the 357,000 or 358,000 bureaucrats who work for Mark Carney, and let's say each one of them has a spouse and each one of them has a kid or two, that is a major voting bloc that will never vote for smaller government. I think at a certain point in time, the government is such a huge distortionary effect. It's like a black hole that just sucks everything into it. What do you think?
No, I think you bring up a good point. The only thing is I think you might even be understating it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you said 358,000 as a voting bloc, but I mean, there's also the provincial government bureaucrats and the municipal government bureaucrats on top of it. So this is absolutely a huge concern, right? Because, like, why would a bureaucrat want to vote to reduce the size of government? Right? They're not going to vote themselves out of a job. So the problem also exists here because in the private sector and the free market, none of this nonsense would be allowed to survive, right? Like if they were a business, they would be kicked out of the marketplace by consumers. So the problem that we're facing here is the fact that you have this monopolized government, of course, but it's also that we don't have any political will from the politicians to actually clean up this mess, right? So Carney is very much on the record saying he's not going to cut the government bureaucrats. He's going to cap the size of the bureaucracy. So essentially entrenching the Trudeau era out of control bureaucrat hiring spree. But then also too, right, like we got to call out the other parties as well. Like even Mr. Poilievre and the Conservatives, they have not taken a hard stand against the absolute runaway cost that is the ballooning federal bureaucracy. So the real problem that I think we're facing here is a lack of political leadership given our current circumstances, where we're not really hearing any of the major parties really come out and say what has to be done. And that is a massive reduction in the number of bureaucrats, but also in their pay and perks.
Hey, after the election, I tried to put my best foot forward and say, well, it was close and Donald Trump upended things. And it was sort of copium, as the kids say. And listen, I'm used to setbacks. I've always been a bit of a rebel. So when you're a rebel, you're always, fighting as a bit of a dissident. You're always in the opposition. You're never really in power, so to speak. But I was a little down in the dumps because I had thought, well, we're going to bring in a new leader that is going to fix a lot of things from 10 years of Trudeau. And instead, Trudeau 2.0 squeaked in. What are you hearing from your base? You're a grassroots organization with individual members across the country, severely normal folks. Just about the general mood of things, how are your people feeling? What are they saying to you?
Yeah, well, Ezra, first, let me just say I totally understand the sentiment, right? Like, I totally get it. And we actually surveyed our supporters immediately following the election. And to my absolute surprise, and I was very happy about this, is our supporters were ready to keep fighting.
Yeah,
they were motivated to keep fighting. I was a little bit worried that some people would be go through a stage of apathy following the election, but no, our CTF supporters overwhelmingly were ready to get back on the saddle and get back to work. And Ezra, I mean, you and I, what else are we gonna do, right? Yeah. We believe in what we believe very strongly. And it's time to get back into the fight and just keep swinging away.
Well, I like your attitude. You're always high energy, always a positive guy. And you've got to be. If you're in the business like yours, you can't be, down in the dumps. And even if you are for a moment, you got to pick yourself up, get back on that horse and keep going. And that's what we love about the Taxpayers Federation. And I'm glad that your grassroots members are saying that, because we need Franco and the Taxpayers Federation more than ever. Thanks for catching up with us. Stay in touch, and hopefully we'll have good news one day. But in the meantime, we have to tell people the truth about the bad news.
Yeah, we do. Ezra, thanks so much for having me on the show today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. There he is, Franco Terrazzano, the boss of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Stay with us. Your letters to me next. Hey, welcome back. Your letters to me. AdCap says, send homeless encampments to Olivia Chow's lawn. Yeah, I guarantee you that the elites who dominate our politics, our media, our judiciary, all the fancy people, they are well insulated from the decisions they make for the rest of us. I think that's pretty obvious. I think it was very obvious during the COVID crisis. They all enjoyed a staycation. At most, they worked from their laptop at home or from the cottage, while people who worked as bartenders and waitresses and clerks in the stores, they were the ones who were unemployed. Yeah, the decisions made by the elites often don't affect them, do they? Next letter is from Matthew Powell, who says about these black-only homeless shelters, how black and who decides is exactly what I asked when Trudeau announced his business loans for blacks. I mean, you can't pull someone up by pulling someone else down. And I think the promise of Abe Lincoln, who I quoted yesterday, and the promise of Martin Luther King was that we would all become free and peaceful together. You know, Elon Musk said that we're all descended from slaves if you go back far enough. I think that's true. I mean, the idea of freedom and democracy is a relatively new idea. I mean, there were moments of it going back to Greece, I suppose, and even earlier. But the default state of man is, as Hobbes said, nasty, brutish, and short. Life was nasty, brutish, and short. A war of all against all. And slavery was the norm. That's why that slavery is in the Bible. It's not even, in the Bible in a controversial way. It's just a thing. It was like wallpaper. It was always there. It's only in the miraculous recent present that, thanks in large part to the British Empire, that the world is relatively slavery free. The idea is to make that the happy, steady state, not to flip it around and try and turn former slave holders into slaves, because no one they're punishing today was ever a slaveholder, and no one they're benefiting today was ever a slave. The people you're giving these false benefits to never suffered the racism, and the people you're punishing never meted out the racism. Last letter on the Red Deer event, SG says, independence for the whole West, Alberta and Saskatchewan to start, but then also BC, Manitoba, and maybe even Yukon and Northwest Territories. I mean, the whole West gets the shaft from the East. How can people tolerate being treated with disdain as a colony in their own country? You're talking about our big town hall meeting that we're scheduling for Red Deer, Alberta on Saturday, June 14th. If you're in Alberta, I hope you can make it. Actually, on early next week, I'm going to be in Regina. We have almost 500 people coming in Regina, which is not a huge city, to talk about the future of Saskatchewan. And I think that, Preston Manning wrote it in the Globe and Mail a few weeks ago, and I think some people were shocked by it. He said, if Mark Carney wins, he could be the last prime minister of what we now call Canada. And he was scolded for that, but I think he may have been prescient about that. I think he may be right. If Mark Carney continues the war against Alberta and the war against the West and the war against the oil industry and continues to exacerbate things, I see new statistics show that in the first 4 months of this year, there were 817,000 new immigrants to Canada. You do that on an annualized basis, that's a staggering 2.5 million. That is 10 times the number of immigration that Stephen Harper had as prime minister. If you keep up the push and the pull, you're going to push Alberta and the rest right out of this country. That's my prophecy. Well, that's our show for today, and that's the week. Until next time, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters, to you at home, good night, and keep fighting for freedom.